Sustainable development is the golden key to solve global problems. That's according to President Xi, who addressed for the first time St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. Xi highlighted sustainable development as the best entry point to cooperating on shared interests worldwide.
China is firmly committed to its pledges of sustainable development. China has made recognizable achievements in this area. We have also been strengthening international cooperation on sustainable development. In 2013, I made the proposal of jointly building the Belt and Road with the aim of realizing win-win cooperation and mutual benefits among countries.
Also at the forum, China's president announced that the country is ready to share its expertise on 5G technology with its partners. And Russia's president slammed the U.S. moves against Chinese tech giant Huawei.
China is ready to share technological inventions and scientific achievements with other countries, in particular 5G technology. China is willing to work together with partners to cultivate our new core competences and transform our economic development models.
Look at the situation around Huawei and the unceremonious attempts at pushing it from the international market. In some circles, it's already being called the first technological war of the coming digital age.
And China and Russia are promising to work closer in energy, as their top leaders pledge to improve the business environment in the sector. At a bilateral energy forum on Friday in St. Petersburg, President Xi called energy cooperation with Russia the most significant, fruitful, and far-reaching area. Xi also made 4 proposals to make joint efforts more effective. He said businesses should play a leading role, follow market principles, and ensure mutual benefits. He highlighted emerging areas of cooperation, such as technical energy standards and innovation. He said joint projects should promote the integration of interest and collaboration along the whole industrial chain. He also advocated working together in global energy governance and in safeguarding multilateralism. Earlier in President Xi's visit, the 2 leaders signed 2 joint communiques. They agreed to provide each other strategic assistance on security, sovereignty, and territorial integrity. They also promised further cooperation in multiple fields and reached an agreement on arms control and nuclear disarmament. The trip also included a number of cultural events, such as a gala celebrating 70 years of diplomatic ties between China and Russia and the opening of the Moscow Zoo's Panda House. Many government officials and experts spoke highly of President Xi's visit. They believe the new era of China's strategic partnership of cooperation with Russia is an important factor in global stability.
I'm very encouraged by the speeches of President Putin and President Xi. The outlook of the cooperation between the 2 countries is very exciting. The most important thing is that the Russia-China friendship is indeed a future-oriented strategic partnership. Other countries will also benefit because the friendship is an important factor in global stability.
Looking into the new era of China-Russia relations, with their shared values, we can surely expect more strengthened cooperation and contributions from the 2 countries to the world.
A major deal between Slovakia and China. The 2 countries will establish an aviation simulation and training center with a total investment of 200 million yuan, nearly $29 million.
China's aviation industry is developing fast, and there's a huge potential in the pilot training market. We hope to build this training center for Chinese pilots.
A joint company will be founded in a cooperation zone China established for CEEC companies.
The cooperation zone is one of the partners in our project. He managed some activities and so on and so on. I think the support from the Chinese side is higher and higher.
The China-CEEC Expo has attracted enterprises from 22 countries, and China's growing consumer market has attracted some of the best food manufacturers from Europe.
Our strategy is to work with retail chains, but to work in China we are searching for the partners, and for example, for a few years we already get some relationships and we are trying to establish it.
A growing market and consumer needs and improving investment circumstances. China now is one of the largest consumer markets in the world, and it still devotes to further improve it.
Trade with Central and Eastern European countries is gaining more support from China. In order to build a fair and efficient environment, China Customs is working with European countries in areas such as authorized economic operator, intellectual property protection, and anti-fraud. China has also signed deals with 13 European countries over 51 projects on exporting food products to China.
Countries in Central and Eastern Europe are very important to China. They have a very good industrial base and a developed cultural and business environment. They're good partners.
In 2018, trade between China and the Central Eastern European countries reached over $80 billion and increased over 20% from 2017.
The G20 meeting of finance ministers and central bank chiefs wrapped up Sunday in the Japanese city of Fukuoka. They said they hoped global growth would pick up later this year and would continue into 2020.
There was broad agreement that global growth appears to be stabilizing and is generally projected to pick up later this year. We reaffirm that we shall use all policy tools to support strong, sustainable, and balanced and inclusive growth.
Finance ministers from across the world expressed worries that an ongoing trade war between the United States and China could harm world economic growth. The official joint communique, however, stopped short of calling for a resolution to the US-China dispute, the finance leaders instead noting the risks from trade and geopolitical tensions are, quote, intensifying.
The new travel restrictions prohibit U.S. cruise ships from calling at Cuban harbors. However, a provision will allow Americans who booked a group tour to Cuba prior to that date to visit. U.S. cruise companies like Carnival Cruise Line promptly announced they were canceling scheduled trips to the Caribbean island. The Cuban government reacted with an official statement published in the Communist Party newspaper Granma, saying that Cuba will not be intimidated by the U.S. blockade, and blasted attempts to force political concessions by hurting the country's economy and living conditions for its people. This cruise ship behind me may be one of the last of its kind to come from Florida to Havana Harbor, following the latest restrictions by the U.S. administration, which directly affect the private sector that offers services to the American passengers on board these vessels.
Nosotros vivimos de ese turismo. We earn our living from this kind of tourism. If they stop coming, how can we make a living? We'll have nothing, so we'll see a strong impact. This U.S. policy will not affect the government. It'll affect us, the people.
Jose Antonio Perez opened his private restaurant in Old Havana some 24 years ago, and he regrets the tightening of restrictions on U.S. travelers to Cuba.
The short time they are here, these visitors are learning about private businesses, meeting people, tasting Cuban food. Now we will be forced to go back to the times when we had no cruise ships arriving and try to cushion the impact that this will have on us.
Also affected by the new measures, those who offer city tours to visitors in vintage cars or in horse carriages. Fewer tourists means fewer passengers. For Cuban tourist specialist Jose Perello, the cruise ships provide an important source of livelihood to private workers.
All these cruise ship tourists come to see the new Cuba. They are major consumers of private services. They buy crafts, they eat at private restaurants, and interact with the locals. So the U.S. argument about closing the doors to the Cuban government with these sanctions is not as they say, because they are actually affecting a sector that does not have any strong links to the Cuban government.
For many people here, the U.S. travel sanctions are a lose-lose proposition. Not only will more Americans not be able to visit Cuba, those on the island who count on tourists will miss out on the economic benefits.